next guest, George Jordan, has had some highs and lows in his life, but none so low as the day he was busted for drug possession by the LAPD. Now, George claims he was framed in court with a pound of crack cocaine. He says he was clean and definitely not the junkie that the cops are making him out to be. This is the story of a man who seeks the lie detector today to clear his name for himself, for his family, and his friends. Luck, they say, is often a result of being in the right place at the right time. George Jordan would argue that bad luck can come from being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Looking back, George probably wishes he never stepped foot on an LA parking lot back in September of 1996. No longer a drug user himself, George admits he volunteered that day to pick up some drugs for a friend. At one point during that transaction, an undercover cop spotted the deal going down. The cop ran towards George. Not knowing who was racing towards him, George says he got set to run, but instead was tackled onto the pavement and taken into custody. Matters went from bad to worse. George claims the police later padded his rap sheet with having a large amount of drugs in his possession. George says he was clean. He didn't have any drugs in his possession, not at the time of his arrest. The police, George claims, were portraying him as a pusher, which is a much bigger offense with a much longer jail sentence than for just a casual user. The charges also brought a horrible downward spiral to his life. Family and friends abandoned him, as well as employers. At one point, he was even homeless, and he says getting his life back to normal seems impossible. Today's lie detector test, George hopes, will be the first step in that process. George, if what you say is true, you're talking about a major LAPD setup.
Yes, I would consider it so.
How'd you end up in a situation like this?
From my point of view, this could happen to anybody. I used to hear other people tell me that the police planted drugs on them, the police did this to them, and I always said to myself, oh, they were your drugs, or you probably really did that.
You know you did it, right.
And I don't say that anymore.
Now that you're on the other side.
Now that I'm on the other side.
What happened?
I was on Western and Jefferson in the parking lot, and I had just got out of a car, and after about 3 or 4 steps, I noticed a guy trying to tackle me. I heard somebody say that, he's dumping, he's dumping.
Which means you're dropping cocaine.
Which means I'm dropping cocaine, but there was no cocaine dropped.
We're going to put you on the lie detector test and ask you if you were in possession of cocaine that day.
Well, now wait a minute now. Earlier that day, I was in possession of cocaine.
What, were you doing cocaine?
No, I don't do cocaine. I must admit, I purchased some for a person, a very small amount that didn't lead up to a pound of cocaine.
In that distribution?
Yes, it is distribution, but I was really under pressure from a friend to do him a favor.
And when he pays you back, isn't that selling it?
When he pays me back, isn't that selling it? Well, no, because I got nothing out of it but busted.
Tell me all the ways that you feel that the cops really duped you. In what ways did they falsify the claims?
First of all, on the police report, they said that the guy that they said they saw me selling cocaine to, they tried to apprehend in a high-speed chase. It never happened. The guy sat there. They never said one word to him.
So there was also a problem, you say, with the amount of cocaine. In the original report, they gave one amount of cocaine.
Right.
But by the time you got to court, you say that there was a discrepancy between the amounts.
Exactly. They picked up 4 rocks off the ground, granite, real rocks. I suspect they sent them out and had them analyzed, and they came back real rocks, granite. So instead of just dropping the case, they went and got a pound of cocaine and just presented it in court.
So what happened when they pulled that out and you saw that amount of cocaine that they were trying to lay on you? What did you say? What was your reaction?
I went into shock. I couldn't believe it. I stood up and I I was speaking to the public defender, and I said, "You call this a strategy?"
So here you are screaming, trying to defend yourself, and nobody's paying attention
Nobody.
to you. They don't believe you.
No, I'm calling the police up saying, "You liar, you liar, you liar." Nobody's even listening.
Tell me what that feels like to be when you're being accused of something that you had nothing to do with.
I'd already told the judge that I'm a Christian. I go to church every Sunday. I have nothing to do with cocaine. And then to be treated like that is just...
humiliating.
It was more than humiliating. It was so smooth. There's no doubt in my mind they've done that before. It's a setup. That court has done that to other people before. And if anything, I'd like to see, you know, something done so the next person that comes behind me won't get caught up like I did.
It takes
you know?
a lot of courage to do what you're doing, George. I mean, you're coming up against the LAPD and claiming that they're lying and claiming that they're falsifying reports, and you're claiming that they've set you up with a pound of cocaine or whatever. I mean, that's a pretty courageous thing to do, to go up against the LAPD.
I'm not a dealer. I don't sell cocaine. You know, I don't use drugs.
Has this ruined you, George?
It has really ruined me. I've lost my family. My son hates me. Everybody thinks I don't want to work. I'm not looking for a job. And the only thing I have is God.
Well, the force is going to have to be with you on this lie detector test. What are you here to do today?
I'm here to prove today, once again, that I don't sell drugs or distribute drugs. I am not a dealer. I don't use drugs. And I want to clear my name. Bottom line, I want to clear my name.
Well, let's do that. You ready to face the lie detector?
Yes, I am.
Takes a lot of courage to do what you're doing today.
I'm up for the challenge.
All right, let's get you hooked up.
Okay.
Do you plan to tell the truth on this test about whether you were trafficking in cocaine just prior to your arrest in September of 1996?
Yes.
Are you now sitting down?
Yes.
We introduce other questions regarding the main, or what we call the relevant issue.
On the day you were arrested, were you selling cocaine for profit?
No.
Be advised, George, any attempt at countermeasures will invalidate this test. Just prior to that arrest in September 1996, were you trafficking in cocaine?
No.
We allow time between questions to ensure that we record all of the reactions to the questions.
This test is over. Remain still for 10 seconds, please.
Up next, is George trying to fool the lie detector? Or was he actually framed by the very people who are charged with the job of protecting us? George, the lie detector has determined that you are... Actor David Lander, Squiggy on Laverne and Shirley, fired from the set of the movie Conan the Destroyer for being drunk.
My manager screamed in the phone, "What's wrong with you? Have you been drinking?"
Now, was David Lander drunk on the job? Or is he trying to cover his tracks and use his affliction of multiple sclerosis as an excuse for being unprofessional?
I just figured this guy wants to fire me because of a disease I don't have. I'll cop to that as opposed to a disease I do have.
Find out on Lie Detector.